It is 8:21. I call this meeting of the General Government Public Safety Committee to order. I know attendance has been taken. Comments from citizens? Anything dealing with?
You've got one lady that has a comment.
You go up to the microphone and announce your name and where you live.
My name's Darla Harrigan. I live out at the trailer park. On the first road, when you come in, I don't even know what the name of that road is.
The very first
The
one?
first street.
To the left? as you go.
Yeah. They asked me to come to see what it would take to get a dusted on light or something out there, because that street is very, very dark.
We'll look into that and see what we can get to get the best coverage there, if something can be done. I know
I
there's
mean,
lights in the rear.
there's one up, by the first two trailers, and then there's one almost all the way to the corner down there.
It's kind of in the back.
Mhm.
Okay.
But anything through the middle, you can't see. And even sometimes when you go there at night to make a left turn in, some people miss the road. And if it wasn't for the mailboxes getting the glimpse of light, there would probably be people taking out the whole row of mailboxes.
Thank you much for your time. Any other comments? Moving on, public safety, fire department. There's an activity report in your packet. Anything you want to point out?
Nothing special, no.
Same old, same old. Okay.
We had a lot of great comments about fireworks show. Well, this meeting is in July, I'm thinking about it.
So make sure you report on that for this week.
Yeah. I mean, we did have one little incident, I think that was in June. Where we had a fireman kind of took a tumble.
Yes.
I guess that's doing all right, you're in?
Mhm.
Okay.
I too have heard good comments about fireworks shows.
It was a lot quicker this year than last
It
year.
was about 20 minutes or so.
18.
18's which I think it was just about right. You know, I did see one or two families leave just at the very end, not like last time when they left in the middle of it. So I think it was.
We're getting closer and closer to getting it right.
Oh, it was great. We really enjoyed it.
Any other for the fire department? Thank you, sir. Police department activity reports in your packet. Bob, is there anything you want to point out?
Not on the activity report, sir.
Okay. Any questions on that? Hearing none, police department other, changes to the existing tobacco policy.
So after our last discussion regarding tobacco 21, I believe the board's decision was to not actually change the age to 21 to be able to buy tobacco, but do want to change the existing policy. So there are edits in your packet. A lot of these did come from the tobacco 21 edits, and they mirror the state law. And Sydney has reviewed it. The only thing that she did suggest is, we had gone through and talked about the fines, and I put the amounts of the fines for the first, second, and third offense. She thinks we should mirror what the state says for those fines instead of doing this. So they would be more like starting at $250. So if this is something you all want to move forward with, we could have it for the agenda for next Monday night. If it passes an ordinance, or if you feel there's more discussion needed, we can hold off.
One question I had as I went through this, and I don't disagree with that, for example. Sections F and G, almost seems like we're adding some ambiguity here on whether we need to be having two sets of penalties here. Would it make sense just to roll it all up into one section?
We could definitely do that.
For clarity.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to point out on section B, right under vending machines, the area that's highlighted was actually stricken in the other copy. So I'd like for you all to kind of read through that. And what it deals with is that this subsection applies for the distribution of any tobacco product for anyone 18 or under, except if that person is given the tobacco by a family member on was stricken out in the other to take that exception out. But that is something I want to point out for the board to look at.
Okay. If it's illegal, it's illegal, whether it's private property or not.
Shouldn't we be policing people's private lives privately? I don't know.
This is the way it currently is in the ordinance. It does allow for this exception in the current code.
I suspect it doesn't say that for liquor, but I don't know.
Any other questions? We had discussed this in length the last time, so I think having it ready for the
Strike,
next meeting.
and do you want it stricken, that part stricken?
Yeah, that's what we looked at last time.
Okay, that'd be great.
Anything else on that? Moving on to the anti-tethering.
Sydney has reviewed this as well. Sandy is in receipt of the well, it's been emailed to Sandy. She has not had a chance to review. She was gone today. I don't know if this is something that we're ready to move forward with. I would probably suggest having a public hearing on it before you
I think it makes sense.
move forward with it. But Sydney has reviewed and she thinks that these are good edits.
And I'd like to get Sandy's.
I would,
Yeah.
I would prefer if we do that,
Yeah.
but talk to Sandy, see where she's at. Shoot that call.
So a couple
I'd
of
like,
things.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a couple things that I have a concern about, in the ordinance way that she has rewritten it. If you go down into, I don't even know what section it was, it's talking about the tethering for 30 minutes, and then there's talks about a responsible adult at home. But the first one says tethering for 30 minutes, and also says adequate food, shelter, water. I'm not sure you're gonna have a lot of people that are able to put a fence up or whatever for their dogs if they're outside. And if the weather's reasonable, that's one thing. You know, if it's too hot or too cold, I get that.
But it's not 30 minutes, so it's a bit longer than 30 minutes unless it is also.
Unless they have. But then it also says just below that, responsible adult has to be there, or a responsible person.
Yeah, number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm not so sure that that's necessary, that part, that portion of it. I don't know.
Part of what we're trying to prevent is cruelty to animals where animals are being
And I
tethered
understand that.
as a way of life.
I understand that, but you're also looking at this as, don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody ought to be tied up to a log.
Oh, yeah, that.
But if it's, and that is addressed, but if it's reasonable, I don't know, I'm just.
I struggle with the 30 minutes too, and I brought that up last time we talked about this. I think the 30 minutes, in my opinion, is unreasonable. You know, there was a good argument that was brought up about the 30 minutes would be something that Sandy or somebody could sit out there and watch if there's an issue. And we wouldn't necessarily enforce that 30 minutes all the time, but I have a hard time voting for something that we're not going to enforce on a regular basis. And it's about being black and white sometimes.
But, like I said, it says limited 30 minutes unless they have adequate food, shelter, and water. And okay, that's cool, all right. But then it says there has to be somebody home all the time if they're outside.
So if somebody goes to work and they tether their dog outside while they're at work, so they're
No,
outside.
I mean,
it's
they're being violated.
Right. So, I, just like I said, I just want to have some discussion about it, I don't want to just.
I think we need a public hearing.
Okay, and I'm good with that.
Public hearing. Section C, we say the city pound or the CMHS. I would hate to lock ourselves into just those options. Maybe we could put a clause on there that says, or other approved facility. You know, so that way we have that flexibility a little bit down the road if something came up.
What are you thinking, Robert? I'm just curious.
Well, we just, what was the pounds full and CMHS isn't taking it? What are we gonna do with the dogs?
Okay, no, I was just curious.
If we just put, or other approved facilities, there may be another state for approved facility that we could send an animal to if we need to. A Mexico shelter or something.
Okay, no, I was just curious. Thank you.
Sorry, that was my business hat that was on from, somebody saying you have to buy a bowl from that supplier. It makes it hard when you get do stuff like that.
I get you.
And then I struggle with the 30-minute limit. And then as I was reading through D8, it says at no time may a dog be tied or leashed to an inanimate object such as trees.
What are you gonna tell them to, a person?
You got the same response I did.
I think it's supposed to be to the stake with a swivel on the end.
Well, that's stupid, though, the way it reads, it's,
Well,
But you may, when we first moved into our house, we didn't have a fence. Instead of putting a stake in the ground, because we had a big dog who would rip out every stake in the ground I've ever put in, the tether was attached to the porch post. Anchored to concrete. It wasn't going anywhere. The dog was never out there for a long period of time, but people may be tethering to an inanimate object when they're doing, because it's the most secure for their animal. So I struggled with that one. What is the difference then? Because a lot of people are going to tether to a fence post, because it makes sense, or they might tether to a tree, because that's what they have in the middle of the yard and gives the dog some freedom while they're out.
well, according to this, you can't even take a stake out there.
That would be an inanimate object.
Would be an inanimate object. So you're gonna have to either stake it to another dog or a person.
I just think we need some clarification on that.
we can take that.
All right, do we gonna strike it out,
And
Lynn?
it's-
Yeah, it can be stricken.
It seems
What's
redundant
stricken?
with what we're.
Everything that's underlined is new, and so everything that is not, or is currently in the code.
And no dog under 6 months may be staked.
Wow, that's a puppy, isn't he?
I just have a problem with this whole thing.
No, I think it's something we need to address, because there are animals in this community that are being abused based on the way they're being treated.
I don't disagree with that, but I think this is stupid.
So you got a suggestion?
Nope, I don't. But I'm not gonna vote for this.
And that's what we're here for, is to figure out answers, so.
I think a public hearing.
Public hearing, okay. I don't
And-
think we'll have
and
time to
feedback.
have it advertised on Monday, this coming Monday,
Yeah.
because I think this is something that we really probably do want some input on,
Yeah.
so it might be August.
Okay, I'm moving on.
Can Sandy come and talk to us about this next Monday?
Sure. Well,
You want to hear next Monday?
I mean, might as
Or
well
do you
get,
want, if we're going to do a public hearing in August, I mean,
I'd like her as part of that, I would think.
The public
Okay.
hearing.
Either
Because
one.
there's a counterpoint to some.
Yeah,
either one.
or we hear.
Thank you. Emergency management. Boone County Hazard Mitigation Planning Update.
I went to a meeting, it's a 5-year plan, so they update the Boone County Hazard Mitigation Plan every 5 years. So I met for the initial planning update, and so I will be getting out some surveys to the board members if they want some input for people that would be directly impacted or could have information to think about, so I'll let you know that. And then we found out very shortly after I attended that meeting that our Boone County Emergency Management Director, Tom Curley, passed away unexpectedly. He was sworn in here in Centralia as Centralia's Emergency Management Director with the ridiculously long oath of office. I don't know if you all remember that,
Yes.
but so his funeral was over the weekend. He was a great asset. He was our point of contact for many, many things. He was actually helped head up the new tornado sirens that we'll have installed in a month or two. So
Let's do it.
it's very sad.
Protective inspection.
Demolition packets are getting ready to, bid packets are getting ready to be sent out. We did have to have a little bit of a comment period. The state had a comment period, and then at the end of that, we gave the landowner, for one of the properties some time to get some stuff out that he had said he wanted to get out, and then, that time has lapsed. And then I've had some conversations with Mr. Cornett and read through the original agreement with him. He has listened to some of the videos from the meeting, but he did want me to point out that it was an agreement with him that he could demolish his building on his own, that he did not have to be part of the grant. And so whenever I kept saying 3 buildings, I was including that in there, that his agreement was that he could demolish his on his own. Now that time has lapsed. It was December 31st, 2018. So we are going to still bid out his property, and he still does have the option to be part of the grant. And if he does not, then we will take steps to make sure that the property does get taken care of this year.
We'll follow through with it.
Is that the
Just
green?
let us know.
The
Yep.
greenhouse.
Thank you for the update.
Lincoln, I talked to him this morning, Lincoln Brown, he said that, they're signing, the document, so we probably, by the end of the week, or by next Monday, I'm gonna guess, we'll have the package to be able to, bid for it. There it is, the building, the other building, somewhere in that timeframe.
So it'll watch the bids next week then?
I'm hoping so, I think so. We're talking today. I might sit at the end of the week, but you know how that is, we'll get to next week, but I think this week we'll be able to bid, set up a bid.
How long is the bid period?
30 days.
30 days?
It only has to be 14, but we are doing 30 days because we have a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and we want to make sure we give plenty of notice for everyone that's going to be here. So before they can bid, if they do not attend the pre-bid meeting, they cannot bid.
Is the pre-bid meeting been scheduled?
No.
General Government and Finance, Economic Development, the Chamber minutes are in your packet. Thank you, Nick. Any comments, questions?
The wine walk is coming up on July 27th, and tickets are available at City Hall, the Chamber office, and Reggie's.
July 27th. Moving on, Park Board. Information's in your packet.
There was a comment in Earl's stuff about the Parks Department doing the cleanup after Anchorfest or during Anchorfest, and he hasn't done that for several years. It's been done by the football team, and the chamber has paid the football team to do that.
Is it a copy paste type thing?
I don't know, it was pretty confusing when I was reading through all that.
Any questions or comments? Cemetery Board? Assume there's no report.
No.
Tree Board's the same?
Correct.
And we're at the Library Board. Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, moving on, June 2019 financial statements.
Yours are not in the packet, so I will talk to Tara, that's in, they'll be provided in the next meeting packet.
Okay. Bills were $1,250. Any questions? Hearing none, other general government. Anything, Heather? No. police chief's monthly report.
This is new in your packet this
Yeah.
month. We were asked, I asked the chief to just provide a monthly report for everybody, and the same as Mike does and I do. And he did.
I see we had to go to Offenburg to, take some vehicles over there and drive them back.
Warranty work.
Thanks for doing that. Any estimated rise?
Got a couple. One, passed around the flyer, bumped into the lady. She was here and presented about the bicentennial thing here. I don't remember her name. Bumped into her at the ribbon cutting this last weekend, and she handed me a bunch of flyers, passed them around, just as a reminder of events starting this year. Golf carts. And I'm a golf cart driver, but I'm gonna bring this up. Seen people in golf carts holding their little babies. Golf carts side by sides, whatever. There's, if I'm correct, there's nothing in the ordinance saying they, right? If no seatbelt is required in the.
That would be correct.
That brings up one other one, I'm sorry. When we're following a golf cart down the street and they pull over and wave you around, can we legally pass them? Or is that a problem? They don't completely get off the street, but we're passing in a city street.
As long as you maintain the right half of the roadway, I don't see a problem with it.
Well, you can't get around them if they don't pull all the way
Passing.
off.
Then
Well,
you're
that's what I was wondering, because they sit there and they're just waving and waving for you to go around them. I just was asking, Bob.
But as to your question, no, there's not. And I don't even know if there's anything to take off.
I mean,
As far as UTV, I don't know.
I mean, because if the golf cart doesn't have seatbelts, our fault.
Right.
Our ordinance says you don't have to have a seatbelt, so you would think you wouldn't have to have a child seat, there's nothing
Right.
past a child seat too, but golly, I mean, is there anything I can do?
I don't know what it would be. There's no way to secure a child seat in it. Besides the, his number 9 wire, and I don't know if that's gonna work or not, but,
I can ask Sydney if there's
I
anything
don't-
she can find.
I don't,
I mean, they drive pretty fast out there through the park, and they get one of those potholes, someone's gonna go flying. Cause some of them potholes are pretty big.
They're not comfortable to go over an electric golf cart, I can tell you that, so I slowed down.
I don't know how to drive it, but I
I'm
know
with you.
some of them golf carts can go pretty fast.
The only other one I have one more, sorry. And I don't, maybe this is something we hadn't thought of, we've moved our police officers to 12-hour shifts.
effective the 22nd.
Okay, how does holiday pay work? Have we adjusted holiday and that stuff?
No, it's still 8 hours.
It's still 8 hours.
Should it be?
I
That's
think that's
what you all may have.
Hmm?
We'll look
I
at
think
it.
that's what federal law requires.
Right, but if they work a 12-hour shift and they get a holiday off, they get something
Well,
they need to
but,
release.
but the code does allow them to still work to still work and then get paid so they're gonna get double pay for 8 hours of it.
Okay.
So then they would get paid double pay for 12 hours.
It was just
of it.
something I want to make sure we've thought of and we'll work through.
We'll double check it.
That's all I answer.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I hear a second?
All right.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We stay adjourned.